As Limpopo and Mpumalanga provinces experienced ongoing heavy rainfall, the effects of climate change becoming increasingly visible at a local level as well. Orange level 9 warning has been issued by the South African Weather Service. That's for disruptive rainfall, with heavy downpours leading to widespread flooding, resulting in danger to life. And that's due to the fast-flowing streams, widespread damage to settlements and structures alike, as well as displacement of communities. So we're going to unpack this a little bit further, perhaps also chat to our forecaster, meteorologist, Lehlohonolo Thobela for that. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us at this hour. You know, offline, we're always chatting about what's happening, but we're obviously trying to make sense and look at the science behind all of this. What is the situation on the ground? So it's an orange level 9 warning. What does that mean in reality?
Good morning, Lisa. So just to keep it short, it's severe impacts of disruptive rain. The impacts are definitely resulting in localized flooding, mudslides, as well as communities being evacuated, and all those things that result in a cut-off. The systems are also disrupted in the area. So we moved from a red level 10, which was a high likelihood of severe impacts, moved to an orange level 9 because it's still happening and we're still expecting more amounts of rainfall into the next coming days.
The big question is for how much longer? Any improvements? When's it also then set to move out? Which direction will it head?
I think that's a good question. Everyone is asking, everyone wants a relief. Let me just take you to the pictures that you see. You notice that we had an 80% chance and it starts to move over into the eastern parts. Yes, temperatures still remaining warm over the eastern parts. However, one thing you will note in our weather outlook further, we start seeing a 30% chance of showers and rain, and that starts from tomorrow. If you look at the low veld of Mpumalanga, still having cool conditions, but that 80% chance that was around the low veld into the eastern parts of Limpopo starts to move on. As that low pressure system moves further east of Mozambique, we start seeing conditions start to improve. So conditions will start to improve from the 19th, stretching to the 20th. As you can see by the graphics, we're still having a 30% chance. So a 30% chance, there's a less likelihood of rain occurring in the area. However, we still start seeing more of the gradual improvement from the 19th to the 20th into later into the week.
Because, I mean, we're obviously looking at why the north, so we're looking at Limpopo and Mpumalanga, KZN now also being on alert as well, but also the cross-border weather patterns in Mozambique as well.
Yeah, definitely. So the low pressure system was over around most parts of the borderline into the low veld of Mpumalanga, into the Limpopo Valley. The low pressure system was just covering those areas into the central parts of Mozambique. Now, with further on in the week, we're expecting the system to move further east and move eventually into the Mozambique channel. With that happening, less moisture is drawn out of the area. That's why you're going to start seeing less and less chances of rain, especially in the northeastern part. So from the 19th to the 20th, stretching to the 21st, that's when we start seeing an improvement, a gradual improvement. And that's when you're going to start seeing the saturation levels over the soils and waterlogged areas starting to recede.
Can you explain a little bit further? Because that's been a big issue. It's what we've heard from professors alike. I mean, you also know as an expert weighing in the ground saturation mode. Tell us how severe that's been in relation to the floods.
So what would happen normally? You'll have a dry area that would then have flash floods because the thing is dry and the land is dry and the soil can't absorb. What's happening here, the land has absorbed more than what it can absorb. And with that happening, having more amounts of rain. So this is more than having flash floods. That's why we move from a red level 10 to a 9 and 9 to a 10, because now the floods are widespread. They're no longer localized. Every area is more than waterlogged or saturated. It starts to now disintegrate. You're seeing a lot of roads that are getting damaged. You're seeing a lot of areas, rivers, riverbanks moving out and brick walls getting up. So everything is just getting to a disaster due to an amount of rain that is above what the area should get. So when I say above what the area should get is that these regions around Mpumalanga into the eastern parts, as well as covering the northern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, annually they receive 800 to about 1,000 millimeters of rain. And they've received close to about 700 millimeters of rain in 4 days. If you're used to getting about 1,000 millimeters of rain in a year and you have to contain all of that in 3 days, it already paints a picture for you.
And this is why also, is this the new normal? Or, I mean, was this just sporadic? Talk to us a little bit more about the impact climate change has on that front as well then.
You spoke about researchers and scientists. One of the researchers, Dr. Mary Jane Bupape, did a research about cut-off low weather systems, and they matched that with a lot of disaster and disaster management cases that were in states of looking at the events that are reported in terms of damages as well as the weather system. So the cutoff low has then definitely approved, or rather verified, that we're having more of extreme weather conditions in the eastern parts of the country. Now that we are in the warmer time of the year, summer, we have more of tropical weather system. So you would have something similar to this, which is called a continental tropical low, and others in the University of Pretoria will call it an Africane. When you have such systems like what we've just had now, which is called a tropical system, it results in more of these conditions. So what I can confirm is that extreme weather conditions are definitely increasing for the eastern parts of the country.
All right. Well, thank you for explaining all of this. I'm going to actually leave you to it. Let me hand it over to you now. Perhaps you can give us the latest weather as well as we continue. Thank you so much. Lehlohonolo Thobela giving us an update, really, meteorological perspective of what's happening weather-wise, climate change at large, and of course, where do you from here? I'm going to hand it over to him. This is your weather forecast for today.
Thank you, Lizzo, and a warm welcome to you at home. Let's take a look at our weather for today. A 30 to 60% chance of showers and thunder showers is still expected for the eastern parts. We've just mentioned a widespread chance of rain and showers still expected in the low veld of Mpumalanga into the eastern parts of Limpopo. These conditions are expected to result in disruptive rain that may lead to localized flooding, but now it is stretched to being widespread into the northern parts of Mpumalanga as well as the eastern areas of Limpopo. That's where we have an orange level 6 warning for significant impact of disruptive rain expected to result in some localized flooding in the northeastern parts. But for the eastern parts of Gauteng, as well as stretching to the southwestern parts of Limpopo, you can still expect a yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms, which are expected to result in heavy downpours that lead to localized flooding, a possibility of hail, as well as a possibility of some damaging winds. So do take caution around the northeastern parts of the country, especially if you have to commute around those areas. Warm temperatures are expected for today. Hot in the central parts. DR will peak at a maximum of 32 degrees. To the southwestern parts, cooler conditions are expected, especially along the south coast, with George peaking at 21 degrees, 24 in Riversdale. Hot in the northern parts of Uppington with a maximum of 34 degrees, 33 in Vryburg, 31 is a maximum in Mahikeng. To the northeastern parts, warm conditions are expected. Polokwane will reach a maximum of 29 degrees for today. For tomorrow, cooler conditions are expected as a high pressure system reaches in the eastern parts. Emelo will peak at a maximum of 22 degrees, 24 is a maximum in Bombela. Still warm in Limpopo with Polokwane reaching a maximum of 26 degrees. But if you'll be in Gauteng, expect some cloudy conditions with warm temperatures. Cool in the central parts. Johannesburg will peak at a maximum of 25 degrees. Very hot conditions are still expected for the southwestern interior. They all will peak at 32 degrees. Cool along the south coast tomorrow with George reaching a maximum of 22 degrees. We're seeing less and less chance of rain in the eastern parts for tomorrow, especially in areas where we had an 80%. It is a 30% chance of showers still expected into the afternoon for tomorrow. However, a 60% chance of rain and showers expected along the east coast. That's where we're expecting cooler conditions, especially to the southern parts of KwaZulu-Natal and stretching to the northern parts of this province. A 30% chance is still expected in Gauteng. Over most parts of the northern areas, we're still expecting a 30% chance, which will cover the northwest as well as into the central interior over most parts of the Free State. Now let's stretch to Tuesday. That's where we're seeing less and less chances of rain for the eastern parts, which is good news for most people over the low veld of Mpumalanga, especially in Komazi, as well as the northern parts covering Bushbuckridge. However, a 60% chance of showers and thunder showers will be over the northwest into the southwestern interior of Limpopo, and that is for Tuesday. Otherwise, fine conditions are expected, very hot temperatures for the western interior. And that's it from our weather. Do stay tuned.